Hey everybody, it's Leanne with Paper Heart Scissors, and I am back with 5 cards using one stamp set. So Stamptember is a great time of year to get brand new stamp sets, and I started looking through my things, and there was one that I really wanted from last year, which was the Hero Arts Autumn stamp set and dies. And so I went ahead and ordered them, and I feel like there's so much great stuff that sometimes we don't get enough time to play with one thing. So I decided to use limit myself and make 5 different cards, much like with the kit, right? And keep the supplies very simple and use the stamps and dies. And I have those are the 3 ombre ink pads that I have from Hero Arts, which is greens, browns, and that red and kind of very fall leaf colored brown to red. And then these were some of the other things that are just everyday things that you probably have in your stash. I had some orange scrap, some chocolate brown scrap. I cut some watercolor paper, some white cardstock, and some craft. And then I'm going to use 3 or 4 zig markers in orange, yellow, and green. A little bit of gold embossing powder, some copper embossing powder, and then this is the watercolor paper. I used the Zigs because it works great. It's the Canson student watercolor paper. So I started off and I took that gold embossing powder and I put it on the brown cardstock, and that was beautiful. And then I decided to, while I was doing the gold embossing, I also gold embossed some of the watercolor paper. And I did a little bit of watercoloring. This is the Prima Marketing Tropical set, and I was just using the yellow and the orange. And you can see how it kind of goes around the embossing, which is exactly what I wanted. And then I stamped some of the different, the pumpkin and the leaves in archival ink and started watercoloring those as well. And just, playing with those 3 colors. Really, I kept with orange and yellow, and then I did add green on these leaves. Um, but I really wanted to keep it to a very limited palette. So with the orange cardstock, the chocolate cardstock, the craft, and I just wanted to play around and experiment and make as many different things as I could, so I'd end up with a bunch of different card designs. And if you've watched my videos before, that's kind of what I do. It's how I treat the kits, and much of anything else is I like to make a lot of parts and then kind of arrange them. And I will say that the end of this video, I actually it stopped recording, and so I have to do this a little bit differently. I show you how I make some of these parts, and then we're going to talk about how I finish and embellish them. And you've seen a lot of the different techniques that I've done before. Basically, I let those dry, those pretty watercolors, and then die cut them. And then I also die cut one of the card fronts of the chocolate cardstock, and I'm going to actually have a little pumpkin inside, and I'm going to emboss that. And I'm showing you how to do it. I put the paper, I mount it on the inside with just some removable adhesive, and then I'm going to stamp through the hole, so I have the exact placement. I have it exactly where that flap's going to open, and then I'm going to emboss that with copper embossing powder. And you'll see with this Canson XL watercolor paper how beautifully these zigs blend, the Clean Crush Barkers blend on this paper. It is so easy. It's really, really nice. So I've really tried on a lot of different kinds of paper, and I find that this is the best. This and the Bristol works the best, but I think that this student grade watercolor paper is really my favorite. It's almost like using a watercolor. And you can even use you can put some, if you want it to make shimmer, you can add some perfect pearls to some water and you watercolor with that, or just use Wink of Stella at the end. The Spectrum Noirs do, however, ruin the embossing powder, so don't do that. So I took that ombre ink pad, and I'm just creating, that paper is basil orange linen, and I just created kind of a texture with that ink pad. And then I had an extra, I'd made some watercolor and I just die cut the shapes. And now I'm just stamping with the ombre ink over those as well. So I have the ones that I did in brown sitting on top of that card, craft card on the left. And then I was considering using that background up above, but I did not use it. I ended up using a smaller, less busy Hero Arts background. It looks like burlap almost, and I'll put that in the supplies, but I used that on the background of one of the cards with the brown ombre ink. So you can see how pretty these are. You can have them be as dramatic or as kind of more pastel-y like these. There are some really cute little teeny stamps in this set. There's a little baby acorn, which I was really tempted to do something with, just stamping that over and over and over again. It is so cute. But I was trying to do this quickly so that, I'm making 5 cards. I've got Thanksgiving cards. I've got fall cards. So now I'm going to stamp those leaves on a tag that I just cut from a die. You can use any shape tag that you want, and I'm using just that ombre ink, but pretty brown. You could do some watercoloring. You could cut your tag out of watercolor paper and stamp on that as well. But if you like the idea, you can make your own ombre ink pad. We learned how to do that. You can use distress reinkers, and you can do that. So there's my little tag. And I had made that pattern paper background, but it was too busy and I didn't like it. So you can see what I ended up going with. I went with the more burlap color. And all of these have now been colored and kind of put together, but I have not done the final embellishments on them. So you're seeing it. I took a wood piece and actually used embossing powder on top of that wood, and it turned out really beautifully. And I supported the side on the right hand side with a little piece of foam. So I pulled out a bunch of brown, copper, and gold and different embellishments and some gold spray paint, and I'm going to actually I put some dark brown painted drops on that card, and I'm going to actually get my paintbrush out and I'm going to spatter some gold drops on a couple of them. It wasn't really coming off of the end of that very well, so I'm going to spray a little on an acrylic block, and then I can just pick it up with my paintbrush and flick it onto the card. And you can do this literally by tapping, which is nice. You get less and it's a little more controlled. Or you can go all out crazy like I ended up doing and just kind of flick it from the acrylic block. And then you can actually even place some bigger drops on there if you want. And I was pretty happy with that and put that aside to dry. And then I did want to put some on here. And I took those square dies, and if you've noticed lately, everybody's doing this, and I just embossed a piece of white cardstock with the shapes. And then I'm just painting a little bit of that leftover gold over some portions of these leaves, and it really is beautiful when it dries. You'll be able to see that gold paint in there. Then I'm going to add, again, a little bit of gold in the bottom of that so that it's got a little bit of more shimmer, although it's very sparkly already. And then I did add a little sequin and a little bow to the outside of the card, and it's embossed in copper with that word Thanksgiving from the same stamp set. And then this is the one that I took the wood hello, and you can see that cardstock is chocolate brown. In the images, in the video, it looks almost black. But I had these metal, chocolate brown metal embellishments, and I thought, oh, these are really perfect. This card, I feel like is really elegant and still kind of fun. It could be a great masculine card, but I like how it turned out actually a lot. And so I just added a couple of those, and it is so gold and detailed. That is actually a strip of gold washi that was down the side there. And so this one is dry, and I put some sparkle on that word of fall as well in this finishing. So you can see from when we left off that I took a piece of that orange cardstock that I had added the dye to, and I cut a little banner out of that and out of a scrap of the chocolate brown, and I embossed in gold the word thanks. And then I'm just taking that same uh, Wink of Stella brown marker, and I added some little dots, and then I'm going to use the Nuvo drops as well on the copper, just kind of to give some little sparkle details to this card. So here are all 5 of them, and I'll move them into the frame, and then I'll show you each one separately as well, so you can get a good look at really. I'll tell you, this was not a short afternoon. I did all of these. It did take about 3.5 hours to design them, make all the little parts, and then rearrange them and play with them. But you know, the result was a lot of cards and a lot of fun using this one set in so many different ways. And I hope that you are inspired by this and pull out a set that you've been wanting to use, and challenge yourself to make a bunch of different cards with one set. It's really a fun way to get something different and break out of a creative rut. I hope you've enjoyed this. There are 3 other cards featured here that are on my blog that you can take a look at for fall. Please subscribe to me here if you haven't already, and look for me on Instagram as well. Take care. Bye-bye.